Hello, Transformational Learning Districts. My name is Crystal Smith. I'm the Program Manager for Transformational Learning in Montana Advanced Opportunities. And today I'd like to provide you some updates and information regarding districts who are on the wait list. So before we begin, some background information on transformational learning. Transformational learning, as it is defined in House Bill 351, is a flexible learning system of pupil-centered learning that is designed to develop the full educational potential of each pupil. And that comes directly out of the Montana Constitution. It's customized to address each pupil's strengths, needs, and interests, includes continued focus on each pupil's proficiency over content, and actively engages each pupil in determining what, how, when, and where each pupil learns. I've underlined that includes continued focus on each pupil's proficiency over content, because as I've spent some week with the Ed Interim Committee and legislators last week, that really is their true intent for funding transformational learning within Montana school districts, is looking at identifying students' proficiency and allowing them to progress at their own pace instead of focusing on classroom content and moving along all at the same pace. The reason that you're probably viewing this is because of this language that is found in House Bill 351 and as well as House Bill 089. An application deferred for consideration in a subsequent year due to the lack of funding must be annually updated each year after more than one full fiscal year has passed from the date of original submission of the application, in order for the application to retain its priority by original date received. So meaning that for those districts who have applied more than 1 year ago, that in order to continue to keep your current place on the wait list, an annual application until you are funded needs to be submitted. And this would be the first year that would be the case. So some updates. When your district applied, it was House Bill 351, Transformational Learning. And this last legislative session in 2021, that House Bill has now been changed to 089. And the main change within that bill is that funding is no longer considered on first come, first served, but it has been changed to a lottery system. There were several legislators that were concerned about the inequality of and unfairness of first come, first served, depending on districts and how many people they had that might be trying to submit prior to the window opening or once the window opened, versus districts that may have only had one person submitting. So instead, those districts that are approved by and qualified by the Board of Public Ed will then be put into a lottery system to determine ranking and order of funding. Some more background to transformational learning. There have been 3 application cycles, and funding has just gone out for the 3rd year of funding. Those funds hitting funded districts before October 1st of 2021. In the first year of transformational learning funding, 11 districts were funded. Last year, there were 23 districts that received funding, and this in its 3rd year, 33 districts have been funded. A reminder that funding is 4 consecutive years from the first year that your district is funded, and requalification is provided by the Board of Public Ed upon receiving the annual report submission. Districts who are on the wait list currently and have a full fiscal year passed since their initial application date would anticipate funding in fiscal year 2024. The only change to that, which might make it earlier if there are districts that in fiscal year or in this year, fiscal year 22, do not submit their annual report, they would be dropped off the funding list, and then districts may move up to fiscal year 23. But by all means and purposes, you would anticipate receiving your first year of funding in fiscal year 24, and all allocated funds for transformational learning end in fiscal year 2027. So to review, does my district need to resubmit an application? So here's a checklist for those that would say yes. If your district applied for fiscal year 2021, that would mean that you submitted your application between December of 2019 and January of 2020. Your district would need to resubmit your application because a full fiscal year has passed since the initial application date. If you were interested in holding your current place on the funding list, you would need to resubmit your application. And finally, if your district uses the definition of proficiency that does not require seat time that was first submitted to along with your application, then yes, you would need to resubmit your application. According to our records, the schools listed below that are the schools that meet these categories. Your district does not need to submit an application for fiscal year 2023. If you applied last year, if you are no longer interested in transformational learning funds, and if your district mandates seat time for students to be considered proficient. And the districts listed below are those newly applied districts from fiscal year 22. So there are some benefits for reapplying. The first one is obviously that you retain your current place on the wait list, that you do not move to the bottom. You are not affected by the lottery system. You're grandfathered into the place that you initially were placed on the wait list via first come, first serve. Another benefit is that with your new application for fiscal year 23, you are able to increase your FTE without competition. So because your district is currently unfunded but have applied, if you have new teachers that have moved into your district or an increased number of teachers, or maybe if you've expanded and enhanced your program to meet the needs of more students and you have more teachers in your district that are providing those and implementing those transformational learning skills and strategies, then you could increase your FTE on your application, and there's a place for that to be done. And the third thing, I know it may be disappointing that you're not receiving funds yet, but it also provides an opportunity to revise transformational learning plans and see what you can implement prior to receiving funds. And I know that there are some districts that are looking to use their COVID dollars to support their transformational learning needs prior to being funded. So the reapplication process, the first thing your district needs to do is complete the fiscal year 23 application. So it's not submitting the application you initially submitted, but the fiscal year 23 application, which is hyperlinked here. And on that, you want to remember that your board chair's signature needs to be on there from an official meeting. The second thing, and this is a change from when you initially applied, is that you need to provide your district strategic plan as it pertains for transformational learning. And this can be a copy and a paste from your district strategic plan where it highlights and communicates what your district is committed to carrying out for transformational learning. The third thing is that you need to include your district's definition of proficiency that does not require seat time. There may be a chance that this has changed since your initial application, but if it has not, you can submit that same definition as long as it's the definition that's been approved by your school board for measuring student proficiency. And then the window for the reapplication opens January 3rd, 2022 at 8 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, and it closes Monday, January 10th, 2022 at 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And the reason for that change is in the new House Bill 89 language that all applications received after January 1st of 2022 are part of this lottery system. And so this is, even though the lottery system does not pertain to the districts that are on the wait list, this has become the new submission window for transformational learning. And in my meetings and opportunities to speak with several leaders around the state of Montana, we've had these conversations about where are the models of transformational learning being found. And so I wanted to provide you with four different and maybe drastically different models of transformational learning. Schools that are larger in size, schools that are smaller in size, that meet anywhere from K-12, elementary to high school, and some districts on here that aren't funded, but are really looking to see how they can transform learning. So around the state and around the meetings that I've had, Heather Hoyer, assistant superintendent out of Great Falls High Schools. They've been funded for 3 years and are doing some exceptional things for students. Dr. Lori Barron, superintendent out of Evergreen Elementary School. They have a personalized learning approach that's really dealing with professional development and allowing teachers to submit applications for how they would like to use transformational dollars within their schools, and providing some coaching, one-on-one coaching for their teachers as well to help in this transformation. Joe Steele out of St. Regis, they use a digital curriculum, which is one form of transformation. And so reaching out to him might be of help if a digital curriculum and a learning management system is of interest to you. And then Principal Micah Clarkson out of Alberton. Spent some time with her this summer and last spring, really looking into how can we transform and personalize learning. Excited to be on a cohort with her, partnering with the University of Kentucky to learn more about this and be able to support schools. But 4 great resources for those of you who might be looking to see how can we learn from other schools around our state that have both been receiving funds and still waiting to receive funds, but collaborating and communicating with those folks in order to create the perfect model for your district. And then finally, I just want to share some ideas that are strengthened through transformational learning. So a digital curriculum powered by a learning management system, allowing students to work at their own pace and have curriculum provided to them digitally so they can learn anywhere, just not within the walls of your school. Project-based learning and assessment, allowing students to decide how they want to learn, how they want to demonstrate their learning, and how they want to demonstrate proficiency so they can, again, progress moving forward into their learning. And then a great opportunity for a lot of collaboration and creativity, as well, as we know that those are 2 21st century skills. Opportunity for transformational learning funding use is professional development. This new model that's moving away from a more traditional style of learning takes some modeling, takes some crafting and some new learning. So being able to provide professional development for your staff is one way that you can use these funds. Deciding for your district, what is the profile of a graduate? What do we want our graduates to look like? What are those? They talk about soft skills, essential skills, but what do we really want our students to be able to do upon graduation, and looking into that profile of a graduate and maybe molding or changing their educational experiences in order to create those lifelong skills that are necessary for post-secondary success, whether it may be college or maybe in a trades academy or jumping right into a career. The next idea for transformational learning is community-based learning. Again, getting students out of the school into the community, using industry and using trades that have already been established that provide some unique curriculums, a lot of them digitally and online, so students can move at their own pace, but being able to use technology that's up to date and that's state of the art, and a lot of electrical, plumbing, trades needs, but then also building, contracting, nursing, hospital opportunities. That ties hand in hand with the Trades Academy. Again, how can we provide certifications and credentialing for our students that they can take with them upon graduation or even before they graduate to help propel their future careers. Transformational learning can be used to enhance gifted and talented courses that may or may not currently exist within your schools, but then also to provide personalized interventions. When we look at tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 interventions for students, how can we transform the intervention piece for those struggling students to allow them to be able to flourish and grow in their learning? And then finally, the implementation of new courses. There may be a course within your school that you may not have funding for. You might be trying to figure out how can we provide these experiences or unique experiences for students. So transformational learning could be used to implement those new courses based on students' needs. And just a really important reminder that all of these should be focused on a proficiency-based model of learning that does not require seat time, as that is the main requirement for being able to apply for transformational learning dollars. My contact information is provided. I am happy to meet over the phone, meet via Zoom, even come visit your school districts and sit down with you and have conversations about how I can be of further support as your district adopts their transformational plan and look to carry it out. Thank you for your time today. I hope you found this beneficial and look forward to meeting with you and answering the questions that you may have.